This is day 2 of accepting my brother's carnivore challenge. So he challenged me to do carnivore for 6 months, and he's been doing carnivore for almost the past 2 years. And he swears my initial attempt of doing only 1 month, I didn't see all of the benefits. So last night, only got 6.5 hours of sleep, went to bed a little late, and my recovery score on my Whoop was 92, which is really nice because for the past 2 days, it wasn't that high, and there is a bias when you first start a new diet to or you change something with your life to put everything on that one change, both the positive and negative. I'm like, oh yeah, man, that's definitely carnivore. Great recovery score. I think it is. But at the same time, I'm not 100% sure. It could have also been the fact that I used the sauna yesterday, and did some journaling, meditation, and allowed myself to kind of recover more than over the weekend when I was walking. I had 10 miles on Saturday and 10 miles on Sunday. But, anyways, I'm going to sit down right now, drink about a third of a gallon of water with some electrolytes. And for the morning, I typically like doing about 2 grams of pink Himalayan salt and then 1 gram of magnesium glycinate. And I'll do that with my tea. So I'll go grab the balls and I'll show you how to do that in a second. And I'll chug that and write down exactly what I'm going to do for today, kind of plan it out to the 15-minute mark, because it's really important that you have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, then you're kind of planning to fail. I think that's somewhat how the quote goes, but just being intentional about how you want to spend the day, especially if you have ADHD, it helps focus you because you just check back to the list. If you're unmotivated at any point in the day, it doesn't matter. You just check the list. If you, yeah, so you kind of just sit down, get a perspective on the day, and then you write instructions for yourself. So it's pretty simple. I just take the empty bottle right there. I take my full bottle of green tea, my lemon juice, about that much. Stick the funnel. I'm going to stir this one up. And then I'm going to take just my regular spring water. And I drink spring water because I have noticed that I take less electrolytes while drinking it. So, move it over further. I just like the taste of it, and I have a whole 4 or 5 part video series talking about drinking spring water, but it's what I do day to day. I have a spring that is half an hour from my house, so I'll kind of go up there, fill them all up, and takes about half an hour to fill them. So all in all, it costs me an hour and a half once a month, once every month and a half, to fill up all the jugs I have, which really isn't a lot of time, especially for getting really good quality water, because I actually tested the water, because I was thinking, how much of an idiot would I feel like if I was spending all this time buying spring water and I was actually just poisoning myself because the source was getting polluted somewhere down the line. Well, up the line, but yeah. So I'll basically chug one of these right now with 2 grams of pink Himalayan salt and a gram of magnesium glycinate, and I'm going to chug the whole thing just to make sure I don't get nauseous from taking too much electrolytes. because depending on how hydrated you are, you can get nauseous from taking a lot of electrolytes. And like last night, I must not have been that hydrated because I drank about, how I typically measure it throughout the day is I'll drink 6 of these. So at least 6 of these. This is 2 of these is 1 of these. 3 of these is like 1.2 gallons of water. So I just prefer drinking them out with my little straw. It's pink. My other one is green. My cat, if he can get to them, chews them up really quick. So I just buy big variety packs on Amazon. Yeah, I feel good this morning. Feel alert. I'm just gonna chug this, and it beats the hell out of like any caffeine I normally took in the morning, because that just leads you to feeling like crap. Well, not all caffeine. You can have caffeine in the morning, but I'm talking about specifically the energy drinks I was having a while ago. Those lead you to feel like crap. Make you feel really, really good first thing in the morning. You chug one of those, the carbonation's hitting the back of your throat, and you're like, damn, that's good. And then you crash off the artificial sweetener, and you realize that you got addicted because you were chasing that feeling. And, yeah, it's not worth it. This is a much better method of waking up in the morning. I do have a pimple patch on right here. I didn't realize this, but apparently if you go into steam rooms that have essential oils, those oils can clog your pores and cause you to react negatively, which actually caused me to get a couple pimples, which I don't normally have. And since then, I've just been going into the sauna and making sure to wash my face before I go into the steam room and right after I go in the steam room, and making sure I'm actually using hot water so that I'm not going into the steam room, leaving it, and then washing with cold water, which would close my pores back up. Anyways, I'll check back in later. So I just filmed some B-roll to the last section about the tea was in portrait mode. So I'm like, oh, I have 2 giant black bars on the side of that. Anyways, right now I just finished chugging the water and my stomach's rather full. So I have 2 pages of just like notes and other stuff. And I just keep white paper on my desk. And if an idea pops in my head, if I'll remind myself, just quickly jot it down. So I'm just going to go through, check the time right now, and then write down kind of like 15-minute intervals. Like from 8 to 9, this is what I'm doing. From 9 to 9:15, depending on how long I think each project is going to do. Typically, I like starting my day with about 45 minutes of chores. So that's going to be like litter box. I'm going to do a little bit of repair on my fence. And I think that's what it's going to take us up to today. Then I'll do some meditation and journaling. If I don't do this in the morning, I will not do this. Journaling I find extremely helpful for just relaxing the mind, focusing it, getting thoughts out of your head. So you've been thinking about stuff, but like you'll have ideas you're trying to integrate together. But unless you actually put that stuff down on paper, look back on it, think about it more, it's hard to come to concrete opinions about all of those thoughts and organize. It's a way of organizing those thoughts in your head, and also like writing the narrative of your life. Like you can write the story of who you are, who you want to become, and what you're going to do to achieve that. And it kind of makes you into the author of your own life. It's pretty incredible. After that, I'm going to probably crush some raw liver. I'll film a clip of that. And then, let's see. I'm also going to jot down my weekly schedule, just what I want to do each day, because today's a beautiful day, and I wanted to smoke some meat outside, but I didn't defrost it yesterday, which I would have done if I had journaled earlier. Not journaled, but wrote this down earlier and planned out my week on Sunday, which I normally do, but I was in Boston at the Hair of the Charles handing out flyers for the business. Let's see. Hydrate, electrolytes. Oh, I need to set my trail. I need to toss out some trail cams. I'll probably do that tonight. Count that as my walk in the woods. I try to go for a walk like 20 to 30 minutes outside. It's amazing, especially without a phone. It's amazing how much going for a walk and getting enough sleep can fix a lot of stuff and a lot of especially I mean, you have to give it time to do it, but I lost it. It just allows you to get out of your typical environment, which allows you to have other thoughts, which is similar to what I was talking about when I first started this channel, which was my whole experience with ice baths and how I was kind of depressed at school, stuck there, wrestling was over, and all I do is work, and I didn't like it. I felt kind of trapped. So I saw a YouTube short of someone like, oh, I'm doing ice baths, and it helped me with my depression. I'm like, I'm definitely very unhappy, and I haven't been happy in a couple of weeks, but I haven't really looked too much into depression. I mean, for me personally, I'd say I was depressed during that time. I'm not sure what the clinical definition is, but I was like, sure, I'll try anything. Took an ice bath, freeze my butt off, and sitting in the cold water, especially after you get out, it gives you the space to have perspective on your life. Walking also does it. A cold bath, I think, does it in a shorter period of time, but you can also just do this by going for walks in the woods or just walks in general. I prefer walks in the woods, especially if you live in a city, because you'll find a lot of stimulus, or a lot of things that stimulate you going for a walk in the city. You're like, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that, and you're not gonna kind of disassociate from your typical thought patterns enough in order to have new perspectives come into the picture. And what worked for me is I eventually got to the point where I'm like, maybe my situation doesn't suck. And I wrote down all the reasons why, all the benefits of my current situation. I literally kept those on my phone and I reminded myself of them, and that helped me kind of reframe the situation. And during this time, I was constantly doing the ice baths, and I think after about 2 weeks of doing this, I made a video. I have it uploaded on my channel. I'm like, I don't think my life is crap anymore. Yay! Anyways, I'm gonna get to this. Okay, so this is my lunch I'm having. It is about 1 pound T-bone steak with onion and garlic powder on it and a ton of salt. I put some of the fat in here so I can dip it in. And I like to debone them and then kind of just eat that with my hands, because the steak itself, it doesn't cook well in the air fryer evenly if I don't debone it. And even this one, I had to cut in half already because this section is a lot thicker than the back section. And I would highly recommend using a meat thermometer to pull them when they hit, I think it's 138 is when I pull mine. And that's for medium rare. So check how it goes. It also depends on the thickness of the steak. I mean, you have to dial it in a little bit, because if the steak's too thick, then you're gonna you have to take into account residual cooking. It's gonna continue to rise in temperature after you pull it. So depending on what that is, also what cut of meat you use. Ribeye cooks a lot different than a T-bone, which cooks a hell of a lot different than a chuck steak. So just kind of keep track of it in your phone, the thickness and how long you cook it for, what temperature setting you use. And I like using 390 right now. and that's of course Fahrenheit. Yeah, I'm gonna have this and then get back to my work. So now we're at dinner time. This is what I'm having, the sausage from yesterday. I like it. I didn't feel off yesterday. I did have a little diarrhea, but I think that's mostly due to uh, just switching over from a fat-based diet. It normally regulates itself. At least it did last time I did this. I slept really well last night, and I was thinking about that during the day. Last night before bed, I chugged about a big pot full. Just wondering, 32 ounces of bone broth that was pretty heavily salted, and I just like slept really well. My electrolytes felt really good, and I didn't wake up at all during the night to go pee. I'm like, that's. I literally chugged it. I'm like, "Ugh, I've been meaning to drink. I've been making bone broth because I buy the T-bone steaks and then I cut off the bone because I don't like how it cooks. And then I kind of cut all the meat off. I eat all the meat off the bone, and then I save them in the freezer. And I take them, put them in a giant stock pot, and just simmer it for 2 days. Drain that, put that aside, and then I fill that back up with water and do a second boiling for 2 days. When you're done, I mean, the bone broth should be jelly, and the bones should literally just crumble in your hands. But I have been making it. Haven't been remembering to drink it as often because I store it in my basement fridge instead of my kitchen fridge. So if I'm not seeing it, it just leaves my mind. Anyways, I meant to drink it yesterday morning, got the pot out, put it on the stove, and then I was going to go to bed. It's like 11 at night, and I'm going through the kitchen. I'm like, I'll have to do something with that pot. I'm like, I'm just going to chug it. So warmed it up, added a bunch of salt to it, chugged it. Thought it was going to make me pee a lot. Didn't actually do that. But anyways, I digress. We're here today. I'm going to be eating the sausage. I have felt pretty good today. I mean, had a craving or two for an apple, but I mean, that's just my baseline normal. And mental clarity felt good. Energy levels felt good. I've been tracking and working out regularly, so we'll see how that goes tomorrow in terms of my lifts. Because when I initially did Carnivore, 2 months ago, when I did it for a month, that was when I first started really doing consistently the same lifts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Before that, I just did a bunch of push-ups and kettlebell swings, and then switched programs at the same time I went on Carnivore, so I wasn't really able to notice the difference between my lifts. But since getting off Carnivore and now going back onto it, if there is a difference, I should be able to tell, especially now that I've been progressing slower in my weights because I've kind of like gotten better at my techniques. And also, I mean, there's just a baseline of when you first start lifting, at least I progressed pretty quick through the weights, and like it was adding 5 pounds a week. And then you just reach a point where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to stay at this weight for a week or two and before I go on to the next one. Yeah, I mean, I haven't done the liver yet. I'll do that after dinner once I give this a chance to digest. Because I'm not exactly sure how the raw liver, I mean, it's frozen, so I'm not sure how the frozen raw liver plus the ton of water I drink with that is going to affect my digestion if I have food in my stomach when I do it, because I normally do it on an empty stomach. So I'm just going to continue doing it on an empty stomach. And yeah, peace out. Update. When I tell people I salt my food, this on the plate, this is salt. It is salt and fat. And I'm going to add salt. I'm going to add more salt to this because I just take the sausage, wipe it in the salt. So it's literally like a glob of salt. And then I eat that. And I think it tastes good. I do eat plain salt by itself sometimes, especially if I feel low energy or if I'm just bored and I really like the taste. Just took out the liver. Gonna chop this up into tiny little pieces. I put it on the counter to defrost for about 5 minutes in order to soften up a little bit. But this, along with some magnesium glycinate, is what I'm taking now because my brain's kind of like fuzzy feeling, and I typically think that's from right now a lack of magnesium and also slight dehydration. Anyways, I slice it up. Like this. Turn my bone broth off. I'm gonna drink that afterwards, heavily salted, and have the liver here. And basically, the process is I like using a plastic spoon. That way, it doesn't stick to it. Fill it up. Take a swig of water. And let it sit in the mouth for a couple seconds in order to have the water soften up the edges so that it's not hard or hurts the throat at all. And yeah, I'm just going to go through and eat this whole thing.